How is Grass coin, which is an AI coin, holding up after yesterday's crash? Is it still looking bullish? What to expect for Grass coin, and what are some signals that could indicate that Grass coin is still looking bullish? Now, yesterday's crash came on the news of the tariffs for China, right? The very heavy tariffs, and it came at a sudden, right? If you guys have expected it, you guys let me know how you guys knew. But I think it took a lot of the market by surprise. Now, what I'm seeing here is Grass coin on the weekly time frame. I mentioned this pattern here quite some time ago. This is a falling wedge pattern, and falling wedges have a higher chance of breaking to the upside. However, it looks like it's trying to break down right now. Now, even though falling wedges have a higher chance of breaking to the upside, they still have a smaller chance of breaking down. This is we're all just talking about probabilities here, okay? Nothing in this market is for certain. A lot of it is going to depend on what happens with Bitcoin. Because if Bitcoin has more room to pump from here, that's going to be very good for a lot of these altcoins. However, if Bitcoin continues dumping from here, then a lot of these altcoin setups, they're not going to matter very much. I did a more detailed video on Bitcoin earlier today. I will link you guys at the end of this video. I am long on Bitcoin. I am still long on quite a bit of the altcoins here. So my opinions on this market are bullish. However, like the entirety of this video, these are just my opinions and not financial advice. You got to form your own opinions and strategies. And what I'm seeing here for Grass is a potential breakdown of this falling wedge pattern, right? And what I'm looking for here on the weekly time frame is is this the highest time frame that this falling wedge pattern is validated in? Let's go to the monthly time frame, okay? Do I have 3 candle wicks touching on each of these trend lines? We do, actually. On the bottom trend line, we do. On the top trend line, we still do. I mean, they're not exact, but I think that's close enough, right? However, if we actually get a weekly candle close back within this pattern here, this would tell me that the bears actually got faked out, right? And this is a bear trap on the weekly time frame, and that could very likely increase the buying pressure as the bears close their positions and buy back their positions, and that could potentially increase the buying pressure from back within this pattern. But the more important thing is that if we actually get that this pattern is still valid, right? If we get candle wicks outside of a pattern, outside of an intact pattern, then the pattern is still valid. However, if we get candle closes outside of an intact pattern on the highest time frame that the pattern is validated in, then that pattern gets invalidated. However, the highest time frame on this the highest time frame that this pattern is validated in is on the monthly time frame, so I don't have to worry about that just yet. Okay, so look for a potential bear trap here, right? And this tells me that this pattern is still valid. Let's take a look into a 4-hour time frame. Okay, I also want to mention that this price target, if it breaks out by this point, for example, price target would be almost $4 price target. Now, price targets are estimates only. There could be more, there could be less, a lot of which is going to depend on Bitcoin. I mentioned a potential cup and handle scenario here last time, right? I talked about it. Let's see if that is still valid. 3-day time frame. No, this is no longer a cup and handle scenario or a possible cup and handle scenario. So I'm going to go ahead and invalidate that. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame, 4-hour time frame. Okay. Very likely, bullish divergence could happen if the price action, this is the 4-hour time frame, closes below or at 50 cents, at or below 50 cents. Very likely bullish divergence scenario, which also indicates a higher chance of a bounce. So this is basically what I'm seeing for Grass token. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of Grass by dropping a like, comment, subscribe. or any other coins in this market, I'll pick a request due for you guys on a daily basis, and I'll see you on the next one.